Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing my Koenigsegg Jesko at 3 stars in Asphalt 9 multiplayer. This is the first time I am testing my own Jesko on the channel after winning it in its Grand Prix not too long ago. So please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and enjoy these races. First of all, we have a battle against a Tryon Nemesis and a few Huracans on the Caribbean. Even though I am in Legend League, the Huracans still seem to be the most popular car that I ran up against. I think people just find it to be tremendously reliable. While there are so many cars that are better, people may find that the Huracan is just able to do more consistently well, or be more forgiving in mistakes, or just be easier to drive overall. So that's why I think that's the case. Also in this race, we have another Jesko. He is actually a 4-star, so even higher than me. I did not see many Jeskos when I was testing this car. In fact, the one in this race is the only one that I actually remember seeing. So we can see here that the Jesko has a very good drifting radius, even though it has a low handling stat, and there are a couple reasons for this. First off, I don't think the handling stat directly tells you how well the car drifts. I think it has more to do with how fast the car is when drifting. But you may think, well, high-end S-Class cars, such as this one for example, they have a low handling stat, and yet their drifting speed is actually pretty good. Well, I believe a car's handling stat is based on what percentage its speed while turning and drifting is of its maximum top speed. Obviously, it's not a straight percentage, but I think it has something to do with the ratio between the two. There, we did beat that Tryon Nemesis as well as those couple of Huracans, and the Jesko came in last place. In this race, we're facing a Sin R1, a Porsche 918 Spider, and another Tryon Nemesis. I believe the Tryon Nemesis is the most used low nitro car in the game, just because of how well it is able to keep its speed even with that low nitro. Because it's able to keep a very good drifting speed, and because it drifts very well, and because its top speed is so high, it's able to do very well in multiplayer just like the Jesko, and I would say the Jesko is kind of like an upgrade to the Tryon Nemesis in a lot of ways. They have a lot more in common in how they drive and everything than the Regera has with the Jesko. The Regera actually has more in common with the Bailey Blade, I think, which unfortunately is not as good as we thought it was going to be. Now, Gameloft has said that it will be useful for the Twatra event, so I'm still debating whether or not I should go for it. Let me know what you guys think. It would probably cost about 6,000 tokens, and that is with average luck. And you know me, I tend to get below average luck in this game. In that race, the other Legions United member beat us slightly in his Tryon Nemesis, and now for a race against a bunch of B and A class cars again, as well as this Lamborghini Egoista, which was our main competition in this race. Now, one of the Jesko's biggest weaknesses, I would say, would be it's kind of average acceleration. As you could see at the beginning of this race, a lot of those cars got started up a lot faster than I did, and coupled with its not so amazing nitro efficiency. Now, once you get up to speed, you will start flying past people, but the thing is, there are not a lot of places on the tracks where you will be able to get up to your maximum speed, or even close to it. Like, most of the time I was running below 250 miles per hour in this car. Now, I know that some of the aliens of the game can drive this car a lot better than I do, and have probably done a lot better with it, but I just think that this car is not as overpowered in multiplayer as a lot of people might think it is. I mean, in this race, yes, we came in first, but that Egoista was just behind us. The thing is, the Egoista has a much better acceleration, much better nitro. Its top speed is like 238 and is able to stay there. The Jesko cannot reach that much of the time. So yes, while the Jesko is a very good car for events, it gets the top times in all of the Class S Elite events, and probably any Class S event for a long time, honestly. In multiplayer, I wouldn't even go so far as to say that it is the best car for multiplayer anymore, because after driving it, it just does not feel reliable enough. While yes, you can get a lot of very good races in this car, for me in particular, I found that it was kind of a hit or miss at some times. Now, a lot of this was due to knockdowns, but even then, sometimes I wasn't able to just maintain my speed well enough to keep up with, like, the 918s or the Juarez, who were able to get there and stay there throughout a lot of the race. Let me know what your guys' experiences are with driving this car in multiplayer, because I want to see if other people have experienced sort of the same kinds of things while driving as I have with this car. Also, while it's not particularly unstable, it's not the most stable car either. Here, we do pass this Aventador at the last second due to our high top speed, and we come in first. But again, a close one. I was expecting going into multiplayer with this car that I would blow away everybody because of its super high top speed, but alas, this was not the case. While driving this car in multiplayer, you have to work for your first place just like you do in any other car. This race is against Legions United member Jose in his Fenner, as well as somebody in a Huracan. There is at least one Huracan in 3/4 of the races in this video, so 6 out of 8, and that was pretty much what I found just playing in multiplayer as well. There I ran into a bit of a wall. You're expecting me to say problem, I know. But thankfully it did not slow me down too much, and I'm able to catch up to this Huracan a bit closer here. Now, this other car, the Fenner, is not too far behind at this point, and I decided to just go off to the left here and keep my 300 miles per hour throughout this, such that I would pull further ahead of both of them, hopefully, because I always wanted to try to get as far ahead as I could, so that in case I made a mistake, it wouldn't be the end of the world. This brings back memories from my second race, where I was against another Legions United member in another high-end S-Class car, but this time we managed to win the race, although the Fenner, with its better nitro efficiency, was able to creep up slightly before the end of the race. Oh, and by the way, guys, I don't think I will be streaming this weekend, because that would be like 1 or 2 days after the next season start, and that would not give me enough time to get to a very high league at all in multiplayer. So perhaps next weekend, we'll see. Now we are up against a Zenvo TS1, a McLaren P1, as well as a 918 Spider, and the king of the game, the Lancer Evolution. So in the 4GT Mark II Grand Prix, I finished at 8 out of 20 in the first final round, but I finished at number 5 in the second one, and I'm currently sitting at the number 2 spot in the third round with only 8 hours and 40 minutes left to go. I'm pretty sure that I will probably drop a couple of spots, but given what I've seen so far with just a 1-star car, I'm thinking I should be able to at least get top 10 with that, so hopefully I'll be able to get that car at 1 star, and I think a lot of people are going to try to do that as well, because it's really not one that's worth spending a lot of tokens on, because to start up, you'd have to spend over 2,000 tokens at least, most likely, unless you get way better than average luck, and while that doesn't sound like a lot, you have to remember, we do have the Twatra, probably Drive Syndicate coming, and it seems like that would be the one that most people would want to save their tokens for. I know that I'm definitely going to try to. Or if you do want to spend your tokens now, I would recommend doing it on the Bailey instead, because that car, as I mentioned earlier, Gameloft said would be useful in the Twatra event. Now, you have to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, because previously, I remember they did say that the Senna and the Zenvo, I think it was, would be needed to get the King of the Fall, the Batista, when in reality, the Batista only needed the Dodge Viper to get 59 out of the 60 blueprints for it. So, yeah, take it with a grain of salt, but still it's something to keep in mind, or it might be a little bit of an extra incentive to go for the Bailey if you are close to it but might not have gotten it yet. We're up against one of those Batistas here, as well as an Aventador J, a Huracan, of course, and its rival, the Porsche Carrera GT. I remember one time in a previous race in this season when I was playing with this car, when I went off to this barrel roll over to the right there, I ended up on the lower route because I went too far to the right, so I just went up the ramp, and it still backfired on me a little bit when I hit the side, but I knew that if I was able to get up to speed throughout this section here, this car ahead of me was only a Huracan, so I would be able to pass him before the end, and that is what happened, and I did, and I came in first. A little something interesting I noticed at the end of this race was that everybody in it was within 250 car rank of each other, with me sitting right there in the middle. And now for our final race, which is on the Himalayas against 3 Huracans, a Huayra BC, and a Bugatti Chiron, who was our main competition in this race. Now, it is time for my general review about this car. It is the king of the game, at least in events, and I have no idea why I didn't knock that guy down when I landed on him, because I know for sure that I would have gotten knocked down if anyone had landed on me like that. The Jesko has the highest top speed in the game by far, like 25 miles per hour faster than everything else when it is at max, but not many people have this car at max, and that is why I don't think people probably will do quite as well in multiplayer with this car as they thought they were going to, because while it is the king of the game in events, can get the best times and all, that's generally done with a higher starred car, and the low acceleration and nitro efficiency of this car make it fairly unreliable actually, which is kind of unfortunate given its power. This car can be a real beast in multiplayer, but you have to learn how to drive it, how to keep up its speed, and then I think you will be able to do extremely well in it, and we take the victory in this final race. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed it, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!